There's a quote I really like. It's from the Polish Prime Minister saying the following: 500 million Europeans are begging 300 million Americans to protect us from 140 million Russians who for 3 years haven't been able to deal with 40 million Ukrainians. So normally I don't do videos in English, but I'm starting out anyway, so maybe that will change. Anyways, let's start. For about over 2 years, I've been watching Asmongold so far. I started watching him the moment he stopped finally streaming World of Warcraft and switched to Variety. Anyways, so I've been following like every stream this year so far, and there's no other divide in like information capability from Asmongold that I've noticed that kind of pressures me to make a video about it, because just writing in the chat or comments doesn't seem to. After finally watching the video where Asmongold watches the video with Marco Rubio talking about what if Russia does not agree to the ceasefire, he once again repeated like the most recently the stuff that I feel is wrong and misinformed, not necessarily like out of bad intentions. He says himself it should not be like it is, but it is like it is, But that's something I want to talk about. So first of all, the moment Trump stopped the 1 billion US dollars in Ukraine aid, it started two things. The first thing was it showed Ukrainians and Europeans, okay, the US is really not to trust anymore, at least with Trump currently, because he goes back on deals like the donations the US made to Ukraine are now he goes back on that deal and says like, okay, deal. Now he goes back on that and says, no, it was a loan, you have to pay us back and show gratitude. Come here and sign this mineral deal, which wouldn't do something directly. It's just like the beginning of peace of negotiations. But anyways, when Asmongold watched the stream, and I watched it too with him on the stream, he said like, Trump said like, you to Zelensky, you don't have the cards, I have the cards. And Asmongold agreed with him like, yeah, it shouldn't be like that, but yeah, the Ukraine has no choice. If Trump says jump, Zelensky has to jump. I think he also used like the analogy with the cards. Now, first of all, that's not true. Ukrainians have other allies, like the European Union, which is not good to be seen as one union, but like between the countries inside the European Union that have like a hard interest in investing in Ukraine and protecting it, they between each other like make contracts and deals and help Ukraine out. It's not like the European Union as a whole doing the donations, even though von der Leyen, that bitch, like allowed higher military spendings per GDP for each country inside European Union. But the deciding factor was as soon as Trump froze, like it happened with Zelensky, and he said, "Yeah, you have to come back. We won't help you otherwise." That was the moment where like Europeans finally woke up and started realizing that the US is not as reliable of a security partner as it used to be. Then, after he froze the $1 billion of US aid, the answer was from the European Union to invest over 800 billion euros in immediate help, which doesn't mean like that we gave all this money to Ukraine, but it's an investment in our own military production capabilities, which therefore allows us to give more of our stock immediately. So the step of Trump freezing the help of 1 billion US dollars did not do really anything besides help Ukraine and even help us, because it showed Ukraine that we are more to trust than Trump is. And secondly, the Russians tried a few days ago, I believe it's almost a week ago now, to cut off the Ukrainian troops in Kursk from the supply by sending 800 of their best special forces into the turned off gas pipeline to go behind and cut off the supply from the troops. This happened exactly at the moment when US Secret Service stopped giving Ukrainians any intel, just out of nowhere, together with the frozen aids. So Ukrainian secret service, thankfully, on Telegram saw the Russian troops bulking up on oxygen flasks, and they therefore got the idea what they probably are planning. So they bombarded it with Moses, I don't know how it's in English, and the whole operation massively failed. From the 800 special forces, only 100 returned alive without anything done besides ruining the morale once again and obviously wasting one of Putin's best troops. Secondly, if the US wants to stop Starlink internet to the Ukrainians, especially the military forces, it would have to break contracts with multiple countries, not just Ukraine, because Poland always already offered, in that case, to provide their own Starlink internet to Ukrainians. And to avoid that, the US would have also to break contracts with Poland regarding Starlink. So not only has this cutting off of military intel to Ukraine from the US out of nowhere kind of shown the true colors of Trump. It's quite literally a Trump or US assisted Russian operation to get Ukrainians out of Kherson. Trump doesn't want Ukraine to have a strong position. Obviously, Trump wants Ukraine to be dependent and therefore making it kind of a mineral colony. But Trump overestimated how much power he still has over Ukrainians. And by trying to play their hand, he broke even more trust and reputation for the Americans in general, which in turn weakened his position even more. So Trump is definitely not the decider of the Ukrainian war anymore. He can't force the Ukrainians to go into peace talks. He just can't. Even if he turns off everything he does, the European Union is more than enough to further support the Ukrainians. So why should it be like a good idea to prolong this war if like Ukrainians won't get the territory back? It's not final that Ukrainians won't get the territory back. Even Marco Rubio himself said it's unrealistic that Ukraine will return to its borders before 2014. Why 2014? Because that's when the Crimea was annexed from the Russians. So first of all, that's like diplomatic talk, but unrealistic is not possible. It's unrealistic. And also like the year he chose kind of shows that he can see it being possible and possibly realistic even for the Ukrainians to take back their Donbas regions and other regions beside the Crimea. So why is that? At the beginning of the war, Putin planned for a few days, maximum few weeks operation, special operation. What did he do at the beginning of war? He forced his commercial banks inside Russia to give loans to the industrial complex, to the industrial industry. Have them produce stuff like, for example, a tank. It's getting produced, but after it's being produced, it's going to be sent to the front and destroyed. So it's no investment that will give like that becomes like an asset in the future. The only good reason to like invest into your military is either you're in war and you need to do it, or your military production capability is so world class best that you have other countries buying from you, which after the 3 years of the war stopped being the case for Russia. More and more countries stopped their buying contracts, even ongoing contracts, and started buying from NATO instead, or other, like India, for example, doesn't want to buy the jets anymore from Russia. It also was very disappointing to see the Russian military weapons being unreliable, partly like the artillery shots, as well as basically forcing the commercial banks to give out those loans to the military industry means that after the war will end and they won't be able to sell what they produce because it's either destroyed or like even if they got stuff over and produce more, it's not really something countries want to buy anymore. It's after the war ends and those military industries could just go bankrupt and the banks wouldn't get their loans back. This will mean either the banks will implode, either carrying the war, like any moment. The moment the public in Russia finally finds out what is happening and that the whole country is on war industry and only Moscow and Petersburg are like becoming richer because that's the only cities Putin has to care about, because they're the elites and the powerful people are that could possibly overthrow him, or just by the simple fact that the banks will have no more money left to loan because the money will devalue and it will rise the inflation. The Russian troops aren't really fighting for any ideology. They are fighting for money, and on the contrary, the Ukrainians are fighting for freedom. So for the ideology of being free and democracy and not under Russian rulership. That's a much more strong and motivator, as well as the fact that Ukraine is like well financed for more than 2 years, and Russia won't really be able to keep his war. Putin won't really be able to keep his war going after the year ends. The only possibility would be if the sanctions would be lifted and Russia gains the capability back to sell their oil. But so far, they are like losing production capabilities, and also fewer and fewer countries there to buy those. Even like the tricks that were possible, where the oil gets refined in India and then sold as Indian oil to the EU for more money back. This now was also closed. So I really wanted to like give this out, produce this video, talk about it, because it's kind of sad to see Asmongold being so sure that Trump has all the cards and all the power to act like he wants. He does not. And especially when he does and it does not work, he loses even more capability of doing that. Trump's good streak, when he started off, he was doing really good stuff. But now, after he started failing, it seems like one fail comes after the other. And at the end, I think the US won't really get that much out of Ukraine anymore, simply because they misplayed their cards, their hand. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video informing. I will see you either on the next video or not at all, or maybe nobody saw this video at all. I don't know. Let's see. I just gonna hit it out and hope that some people, at least on Reddit or wherever I've managed to post it, because I don't use Reddit actually. I just have an account since like 10 years. Yeah, for you guys. Hope you have a nice remaining Thursday or Friday, whatever it is. Peace.